Hello, everyone. So we're live again. This is the third edition. If you're here, let me know in the comments. So what I'm going to start us off by doing this time round is giving a quick rundown of what's happening this week, what happened last week, just while people join and so while questions come in. So this week, what's been happening? So this is a big week for us and slightly stressful as it is, but it's also exciting. So tomorrow we have the big HSBC Innovation Banking event. So if you've heard of Silicon Valley Bank from earlier in the year, when it went down, it caused a bit of a panic. HSBC Innovation Banking is what remains of that in the UK side. So it's safe. It's obviously HSBC, one of the biggest banks in the world. So what's happening with them is that we've got a panel where it's one venture capitalist, Jeff Chowdhury, one entrepreneur who started first in the coffee shop business and then went into Truva, and Dimple Patel was able to exit that. So you may have heard from her from our previous podcast. And then Jay Goodrow, who founded a company whilst at university, sold it, then had a variety of roles in the startup ecosystem. And he's had quite a variety of roles, to be honest, across different places. And now is a global commercial director for Block Dojo. And they're one of the biggest places for blockchain companies in Europe and now, I guess, across the world to get funding. So that's tomorrow. There's over 130 people signed up, plus about 10 of our team, plus all of the people from HPC themselves. So we're expecting, I think it's about 160, 170 people signed up so far. So obviously expect some people aren't going to turn up on the day. So if you do want to come, the link is on the website. The link is in our bio. So make sure you check that out. And it'll be a fun event. So it's going to be an interesting event because it can be lots of people, and just the caliber of the people in the room is going to be incredible. So if you want to meet some of the top British Asians in tech, you want to be there tomorrow. Then on the more playful side, we've got on Thursday a five-a-side game friendly. So that's just between people in the Bay HQ. It's just a great way to get to know people. Anybody's welcome, all skill levels, all ages, all genders, whatever. So just come along and have some fun. And then usually we tend to go to Box Park afterwards. So we're playing in Shoreditch Power League. Then next week we have the Sifted Summit. So you've probably all heard of the Financial Times. So Sifted is a startup arm of the Financial Times. And they host this big event. It says in the magazines, I think it's about 3,000 capacity. There's going to be the founder of Stripe is talking. There's all these massive speaker lists, and you've got my face there as well. But what we're going to be doing is something called a fishbowl, where we've got a bunch of different people all together who they are going to discuss, like, how do we diversify tech? How do we get more Asians involved so Asians can believe in themselves, Asians can scale to these massive companies? Because we all know there's many Asians in professional companies where they do incredibly well, but we're not seeing as many in the UK, at least, get the funding they need to really build a business that scales. So we're looking at how do we impact that? How do we make that happen? So yeah, again, just the people we're doing it with. So we've got the Why Hungry co-founders, Heinen and Siddhi. We've got the Magic co-founders, that's Varun and Sunil. We've got Druvin from OcuShield. We've got Merva from Hived. So it's a great bunch of people. And I'm going to try and whenever I'm walking around and seeing the Asian people, I'm going to tell them about our event and get them in too. So there's a few other people we've interviewed or interviewing who are going to be at the event speaking as well. So that's Hussein Kanji, that's Tim Chong, Shilpa Gautam. So Nina Mahanti's coming. She's been on the podcast already. So it's going to be a great event. So make sure you check that out. And then we're coming to Birmingham on next Friday. So that's for the National Franchise Exhibition. And that's with so we've got the National Franchise Exhibition, and I'm interviewing Safwan Adam. So Safwan, he started his career, like he wasn't very good at school. He then was able to get some experience. And from there, he then became a CEX franchisee. He became one of the fastest growing ones. He then diversified into other areas. So it's this interesting journey of somebody who had no idea about franchising at all, then was able to learn about it, grow about it, and at just 25 became a franchisee and then became on the board of the UK British Franchise Association. So he had that epic rise. So that's all in the next 2 weeks. So recap: Tuesday is HPC Innovation Banking with over 150 people signed up, 160. Then Thursday is a kickabout, so 5-a-side. Just join for fun. You don't have to be good. Don't worry about that. At Shoreditch Power League. Then next Thursday is Brett Sifted Summit. We've got the Fishbowl and Diversifying Tech. And then Friday, I've got the live podcast interview with Safwan and Adam in the Birmingham NEC. So if you want to catch us and meet us in person, there's different places you can do it. And just make sure you sign up. I think so. Sifted Summit is, so if you're watching this, you can use our discount code, which is BAY10. So that gets you 10% off. And all the other events are free. So I think, well, the football you have to pay, but it's a tenner, right? Just to cover the pitch costs. But yeah, the National Franchise Exhibition, you can go there for free, learn a lot about franchising, see if it's a model that works for you. And tomorrow, obviously, it's free. Sign up. You've got to put in a bit of details, make sure security knows you're coming, just to avoid any riots on the day. But you can sign up now. So that's that side of things. What else has been happening last week? Let me have a quick look at my notes. So a lot of this is all stuff that I can't announce yet. We've done a few things behind the scenes, just in terms of the business processes. So, we've got more people on the team, and we're reducing some of the friction so that they can act more autonomously. So that's a bit of work, but it's important for the long-term success of what we're doing. We had a bunch of talks to potential partners and sponsors, so hopefully some of those will come through. I'm also doing a talk at my old high school this week, Thursday, where I'm going to kind of talk about how my school is very heavily Asian, right? My year was like 90% Asian, about how everyone didn't really consider a career in business at that point. So it's looking at how can they do that? Like, how do they kind of open their minds and expand the horizons of what they're capable of and what they can do? So that's going to be a lot of fun. Then what else is happening? Yeah, that's all good, I think. So I'm just now quickly checking through the different things we've got going on. You can see my eyes dashing around the screen. So that's there. Ooh. I also might need to sneeze, so apologies if I do. But remember to keep the questions coming if you've got anything there. I think I've run down most of the big announcements we've got. So I'm going to chill a little bit and send out the newsletter. I keep meaning to send out this newsletter before this goes live, so obviously people know it's happening. But it always takes a little bit longer than you think. I think that's a classic problem with entrepreneurship. But you've got to have that deluded optimism you're going to get it done in time, just so you actually try. Okay. So I'm almost there with this email. I should hear a ping if one of you asks a question. Seems to be a lot of events on Thursday this week, so I'm going to run through this as well before I send the email out. I'm not sure why. I guess it's a payday, isn't it? So lots of people are doing their events this time. Okay, and the last one here. So what we do, if you're unaware of this, if you join our newsletter, every week we send across all of the events happening that week across different organizations where you can go, whether you learn, you network, you grow. But what we're trying to do is shine a spotlight in these areas, because so often we walk into those rooms, there's no Asian people there, and it's because they don't know about it. So we're trying to fill that knowledge gap there, right? If you don't know about it, you can't go to the event. If you don't go to the event, you can't build your network. So I'm going to quickly run down some of the events this week. So there's a Health Tech Breakfast Club, which is tomorrow morning. You've got Startups Essentials by Hatch Enterprise. So that's online, so that's nice and easy, an employer checklist. Rise FinTech Mentoring. So if you're into FinTech, you can go to Rise, which is tomorrow morning. So, well, no, that's Thursday morning, 9 a.m. to 12. Then there's an event called AI, What's All the Fuss About, from Thursday, 2 to 3. Meta and Facebook are doing an event of breaking barriers in tech and voices of Meta Muslims on Thursday at 5:15. Then Gen AI companies building in London. So this is a community called the AI Furnace, and they kind of meet up very regularly. So if you're building an AI company, it's a good thing to check out. Let's talk about AI, Network and Learn. That's another event by Hatch. So Hatch is an accelerator. Great guys there. Shout out to them. Then an Embark / Snowflake panel of how do you choose your startup mission. So I've got that open here in another tab. What's that about? Two unicorn founders and CEOs at flagship tech venue. So have they got the founder of Snowflake? This is a pretty cool event actually. Oh wow. So you've got the Go Cardless founder and CEO, Hiroki Takuchi. You've got Lisa Simpson. You've got Paul Taylor, the Thought Machine founder. So that's gonna be a pretty big event, that one. I might sign up. Actually, I'm playing football. Actually, all of you play football rather than go to other events. Then you've also got biohacking to slow down reverse aging from Thursday 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. So yeah, that's the rundown of the events. No questions at the moment, but remember you can keep them coming. I'm on here until 9. I accidentally deleted half of the email, which is annoying. Let me try this again. Oh, bless me. I knew that was coming. I've been sitting on here waiting for this news to come. Okay. God, I look tired. But I can see a few more people joined. So remember, chat with me. I want to hear your questions. Okay, a bunch of emails coming through. Let's see, what was I doing? Okay, let's go to here. Let's paste this in. Got Webflow open. So what I'm going to do once I've done this, I'm going to run through some of the jobs that have come through this week. So if you're looking for a job right now, you want to be listening. Where am I looking? Going to jobs. So if all of this is all on the website as well, but what I'm just going to do on these AMAs while there's no questions is kind of go through some of this information. Hopefully it's useful to some of you. Export, save, open that. So I'll try and keep my eyes open on the comments. Okay, cancel. Hide. Hide. Oops. I've lost the screen. Where am I? It's funny for the people watching this back later on, I think. Well, I guess also there's 5 people watching me right now. So say hi. Let me know who you are. Okay. We have. Okay, that's fine. Fine. International's fine. Okay, so let me run through some of the jobs available at the moment in some of these different startups. Generally, I've interviewed the founder. I know people there. So Block Dojo are looking for early stage founders and startup founders. This is for their accelerator. Why Hungry are looking for an experienced email marketer, a mid-senior software engineer, and a junior operations manager. Nala are looking for a head of finance and a head of people and talent. Hive are looking for a lot of people. So Hive is a very fast-growing company by Merve Iqbal. They're looking for a back-end engineer, a customer experience manager, a customer support associate, a dispatch shift operations manager, a front-end engineer, and a senior dispatch associate. Autogen AI are looking for an applied AI scientist, a user coach, and a user coach bid writing professional. Primary Bid, again, Primary Bid is massive, so they're looking for a lot of different things. Primary Bid are looking for a brand designer, a creative director, a DevOps/SRE director, a marketing operations manager, a senior product designer, a senior product manager, a senior QA manager, and a staff software engineer. So if you're looking for jobs, because remember, a good way to learn about how to run a startup is to join a startup and learn how it's running, see what the issues are, see where the founders are struggling, see that kind of environment. Because then when you go to build your own company, you've got a lot more experience. But it's a lot more difficult, I'd say, to go straight from a corporate to building your own thing from scratch because you just aren't aware. There's so many more processes and systems in place at a corporate that you just don't have at a startup. It's a lot more chaotic, but that chaos is, if you can, it's good to learn it in somebody else's company and help them out and help them on their mission so that you can learn and do the skills to make your mission more likely to succeed. Okay. Let's have a look. I think I'm almost done with this email. That my laptop is now frozen, which is great. Okay. Must be interesting for you guys. You just get like a weird stream of consciousness from me. So if you haven't checked out as well, last week I did a episode where I interviewed myself on the podcast, which was obviously a bit strange. But the guest had cancelled last minute. I think it was that they didn't realize they got the location mixed up, so they wouldn't be able to make it. So we had the studio, we paid for the studio, we couldn't get it refunded, so had to do something, and it was a fun experience. A little bit insane, but the best things are sometimes. Maybe don't quote me on that. Okay, so the email is coming out now. Let's have a look. Let me just check. If there's a mistake in this, it's because I'm talking to you guys. It's further down. Okay. What should I call my newsletter? Here's a little shortcut that might be useful to some of you. So if you do Windows full stop, if you've got a Windows machine, I might be going to Mac myself soon. If you've got any opinions on that, let me know too. Then you can get the emojis up. So that saves me quite a bit of time when I'm doing the newsletter and things. Let me get the... letter. Is that a comment coming through? Nope. Okay. So if you're joining this and you're wondering, like, why am I still doing it even though there's not necessarily a huge amount of engagement right now? It's because the idea is that over time, I get a lot of DMs, I've got a lot of messages, and this is a way that can make it more scalable where people can come and ask their questions here. I'm going to be less and less responsive in DMs to random questions just because it's my time management. I can't keep replying to everybody all the time because then I'm not going to be able to get anything done. Whereas if I'm on here for an hour, you've got any questions, you can ask them. You can ask them for free as well, rather than if you need to hire me privately, it's a different thing. But this way I can help lots of people at once, and there'll be some people, I don't know who'll go through and watch all of this in the past and just see whether or not they can learn anything from it. So the idea is you're here at day one, so you'll see when there's not that many people here, not much engagement. But if I'm keep doing this for the next year, we might see 10 times as many people in the next one, or in 8 months' time, we might be see a few hundred people like towards the end of next year. So that's the idea here, is that you've got to do the reps. You've got to do the reps where maybe people aren't necessarily watching right now, so that you get used to it. You get a system in place. If you look at the first episode, I did it from Soho Works, and I didn't. It was like the timing wasn't quite great. Like there was a bit of things going on there. And the last one is a bit more lost. This one, I seem to just be talking throughout the whole thing. So it's a learning process, and each time it'll get better and better. Okay, so let's send this email. Okay. Actually, I should add one more thing. Okay. Button. Custom. Send test. Send. Let's check what's up quickly. Okay, cool. Email is going out. Okay, so the email is now sent. Cool. So I can see the question coming from Gervin. So that event is tomorrow. So at the beginning of this episode, I ran through what's going on. So in the next couple of weeks, so HPC Innovation Banking event is tomorrow, and it's come up very quickly. So we've got 130 signups so far through the website. We've also got the panel. We've got the teams. There's at least 140 people coming on that side, plus all the people from HPC Innovation Banking. So we're looking at about 160 people so far who've indicated they want to come. We know obviously some people drop out in the day. There's 120 capacity, so we're looking at, we want to shut it down. We want to have it absolutely packed. So you can still sign up. There's still space for that. What we've got is 3 incredible people on the panel. So in order of the banners, we've got Jeff Chowdhury. So Jeff he worked in investment banking and banking industry for many years. Now he's giving back. So what he's doing is he's using his experience and his know-how with his son, Reece Chowdhury. So both his son and his daughter have actually been on the podcast. So Reece Chowdhury and Leah Chowdhury have been on the podcast. So he's working with Concept Ventures to try to identify different early stage companies so that they can get the funding that they need to scale their dreams. So Jeff brings in a wealth of experience on that front. Then we've got Dimple Patel. So Dimple has been on the podcast before. We've also had an event with Soho Works before. And she's got an incredible story of coming from a council estate up north and then building her way up the hard way. So I always tell this story. So first person to go to university, became a Goldman Sachs trader, bought a coffee shop for £1. From there, I always say £1, she bought it cheaply. And then she scaled that to 37 coffee shops. She then sold that to private equity, joined Truve in the early days, scaled that, was able to sell it twice. So as a British Asian female, she's got one of the most incredible stories as an entrepreneur of showing that they do belong right at the very top. And anybody who doubts that, they can always look at her as an example of why people from our community are capable of anything. Then the third person is Jay Goodrow. So Jay has quite a different, what's great about this panel is they all got very different paths to where they got to. So Jay actually started his first company while at university called GradLancer. He built that up. He was able to exit that. And he then went back into the corporate world. So he worked at Dow Jones, he worked at McKinsey, he worked at a few other places. And he got that wider experience there. And then now what he's doing is he's working for Block Dojo. So he was the managing director for the UK. He's now the global commercial director for the entire organization. And what they do is fund blockchain companies to at the beginning, and they help them to accelerate their growth. So it's an accelerator. So if people know what that means, if you don't know what it means is that people can apply. Block Dojo they give you a bit of money. They give you, I think, a designer and a developer, and it helps you. And what they can then do is put you in front of a bunch of investors. So we've been to a few of the investor dinners ourselves, so me and Gervir, and they then help you to scale, right? So this event, the audience itself is incredible. So there's about 25 different people from different venture capitalists. We've got a lot of the former podcast guests coming. It's a room full of British Asian excellence, right? Of all these people from different backgrounds, different stories, who a lot of them never met each other, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is put all of you in the room together so you can meet each other and see what magic happens. So definitely check out that event tomorrow, and it's free. So you've got no excuse, really. So that's happening tomorrow. Then also, if you want something a bit more laid back, a bit more playful, we do have our football five-a-side on Thursday as well. So come check that out. It's no pressure. You don't need to be great at playing. You can come along and just watch if you want to and chill out with us afterwards. But that's another great way to meet more people from the community. And then even next week, we've got the Sifted Summit. So Sifted is the Financial Times' European startup wing. So they're in the magazine. So it's like a 3,000 capacity venue. There's going to be the founders of Stripe talking, the founders from all over the world. And we've got a fishbowl, which is where you've got 5 of us in the start, and then people can tag in and out. So what we do is try and get a topic going. So our topic is about how do we get greater diversification in tech, and looking at what does diversification mean? Because often Asians overlooked when we talk about diversification. We talk about other ethnic groups, we talk about like female founders, but there's a funding gap for British Asians too. And all of the great work going on in those other places, how do we do that for our community? How do we also make an impact there and try to level the playing field? So that's going to be great fun. We're going to have the co-founders of Why Hungry there, so that'll be Siddhi and Hainan, co-founders of Magic AIs, that's Sunil and Varun. We're also going to have Merve Iqbal, who's the co-founder of Hived. And then we're going to have Dhruvan Patel too, the founder of Rocky Shield. And we've also got Dimple Patel. So Dimple Patel is like on our board, so she's a huge support for us and she's been able to do incredible things. And we're massively grateful for her and all of her expertise so far. And the following day, so that's on Thursday next week, the following day, we're going up to Birmingham to the NEC, where I'm interviewing Safwan Adam, who started it as a franchisee at 25. He then built his way up and became one of the top franchisees in the country. So he owns multiple CEX stores. He owned a gem doner kebab. He owns care homes. He's got a really diversified portfolio. But he's somebody who didn't really come from much, right? He wasn't very good at school. His teachers didn't think he'd ever become anything. And he's then gone to become running this huge organization that employs so many people and is able to support so many people's livelihoods. So if you're in Birmingham, because obviously we don't get to Birmingham too often, I think it's our first event outside the M25. So if you want to meet us there, we're going to be there all day on the Friday. So come check us out. If you're not familiar with franchising as well, it's a really interesting model and it's worth learning more about. So that event is also free. So you don't really lose very much by coming and attending. If you've got a day job, then come along on the Saturday instead. We're not going to be there, but it's still a great event. Like I met some incredible people there. And there's a lot of Asians doing very well in franchising. So definitely come down. Let me just get our football link up. Where are we? There you go. So we got a bunch of people listening at the moment. Let us know if you want to know more about either starting a business, about the content game, about podcasting, about funding, about what some of these terms mean. Maybe you don't even know what venture capital means, and that's nothing to be ashamed of because we never get taught it, right? So any of those kind of questions, let us know. I'm happy to answer. Maybe I'll do a little explaining what venture capital is and hopefully not get it wrong on the spot. So what many people don't consider it, right, of venture capital when they think of starting a business, because generally when we talk about venture capital, we're looking at companies that are going to scale. So venture capitalists, they're looking at businesses that are looking to get like maybe to $1 billion, right? Let's have a look. So you're looking at, if you get funded by venture capitalists, they're going to want you to do like triple, then double, right, in a short amount of time. So what we're looking at here is I'm just seeing some messages coming on the side. So you can see my eyes distracted there. So now the challenge is can your business kind of get to that kind of level or not? And if it can't, then venture capital isn't good for you, right? Because you'll then get investors on board who want a very quick return. And then they're not able to get that, then you've got all this pressure. So venture capital is great if you're looking for a massively scaled business. And what they'll do is they'll give you, if from like Dragon's Den, that kind of thing, right? But it tends to be multiple investors rather than just one. And they'll then give you the capital to then grow and scale your business. That's fine. So I'm just seeing loads of messages coming at the side. I think, do I need to react to this instantly? So if you're messaging me right now and you're watching this, then no, I'm trying to do this and that at the same time. So I'm not going to reply to my WhatsApps until this is over. But yeah, questions, guys. Let us know. So we've got another 20 minutes. Also, if you know me and you just want to have a chat, just have a chat here. I'm sitting here anyway. Let's see what we got. How can the public or corporates help? So if you're talking about how can the public or corporates help with the Bay HQ, so if you're a member of the public, well, the first thing you can do is just if you listen to our podcast and you like our content, then to share that, right, and tell other people about us. If you've got any friends who you know are going to start a business or looking to grow and they're a bit stuck. Hi, Jenica, good to see you. It was obviously good to see Gerber as well. I probably should have said that, but I see him all the time. It's fine. Seeing it tomorrow. So what the public can do is if you can share our stuff, if you can leave us 5-star reviews, you can subscribe on YouTube. All of these things, they take seconds, but they can actually make a massive difference. So if you think about YouTube, for example, if you subscribe, then that subscription number, it's a social thing, right? Because what we obviously have is like the more people we can impact, the more people that know about us, the bigger an impact we can make. So if you can help us spread that word and tell people about us, because I know a lot of people, for example, friends, family and stuff, who say they're not really comfortable posting stuff publicly, and that's just, they don't really do that. So it'd be like they're quite private people, but they tell their friends about it. They put it in their WhatsApp groups. And often we're not going to know about that. But that really helps. Like you don't need to like do something, a public show of it. Obviously, public shows are great. But if you just have a friend that you think would really benefit from being part of our community, get them plugged in. So the best way to do is to sign up to our newsletter and then share that newsletter with other people that you think is relevant to and build us up like that. And looking at corporates, so corporates, how this is run is so we've got the main wing of what we're talking about here generally is the not-for-profit arm of what we're doing. And for that, we don't want to be charging people generally for the events. We don't want to be like trying to squeeze people who need the help. What we want is the corporates who have the resources, have the funding. They talk about ESG and they talk about D&I all the time about how they care and putting their money behind that, right? So if they can put their money behind us, then that can help us scale our impact because we can do events with different people. But if we have a corporate and a larger company who backs us, then what that means is that we can then hire a team and we can expand that team out. And that means we can go into different regions. We can do all these other things that we've got in the roadmap, but we're just resource constrained at the moment, right? So any corporates that would like to, whether it's funding us, whether it's partnering with us in other ways, reach out. We'd love to do stuff like that. And the more we can do with people, the more resources we have, the greater an impact we can make. And generally, you want to make sure those resources can feed themselves. And it's bringing people into the team, right? And we can rely on volunteers, and volunteers have been incredible. So on the event we've got tomorrow, we've got Grishma, we've got Maya, we've got Jenny, and we've got Karen all helping out the front. We've got Amir, who's part of the team. He's going to be doing video. We've got Clip Size, who can be doing the overall video production. And like they've been a great help to us through different events as well. But we need to make sure that we're scaling this in a sustainable way. And that's with the corporates. And they can help because we've done all of this with just a small team. And this time last year. So the room tomorrow is going to have, say, 150 plus people in there. The only people I knew in that room beforehand were people that I went to university with or went to family with or went to school with who I didn't even know were in the startup space before. So we've come from nothing to where we are today, where we're packing our room with some of the top British Asian entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. And that's without any external funding or help. So imagine what we could do if we had one of these big organizations backing us to succeed. So if corporates can do that, that'd be incredible. So we can see more people joining now. So again, like say hi, like let us know your name, because one of the things I think a lot of people underestimate is just if I can see you in here, then you send a message, you just say hi, whatever it's like that. When I meet in person, I'm more likely to remember. And you've got this opportunity now to just have a chat. So there's a growing number of people in this room. Like, ask me anything, right? This is the idea of this. And it could be, for example, maybe you don't have a business yet. Maybe you want to learn more and you want to know where good places to look are. Just let us know. Like, there's open questioning. Obviously, don't ask anything too personal because that's uncomfortable, but anything to do with business, anything to do with content, anything to do with the story of the Bay HQ and what we're about and what we're doing, let us know, because there's a lot of stuff coming pretty soon, and we're going to make a couple of announcements tomorrow at the event. So if you can make it to the event, that's great. And then, yeah, let's have a quick look. I'm just dashing my eyes around the screen. I think I've got WhatsApp. Where's WhatsApp gone? There we go. So yeah, we've got lots going on, and we're excited to see how everything goes, because for us, it's just incredible when you meet people. I went to, say, yesterday I was at Hey Gorgeous, which is it's an event more for small businesses, but just meeting people at the event who've either listened to the podcast or know about us in another way, it's been incredible. Like, somebody was signed up, a few people signed up to newsletter, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I get your email every week." So it's kind of it's a weird situation, but it's cool to know that we're making that kind of impact, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning, they focus so heavily on their friends and family, but to really show that you've got product market fit, to really show that you've got something which is going to make an impact, it's got to be where strangers take notice of you, right? And strangers who've never met before, have no connection with you, are looking and saying like, "Oh wow, what they're doing is great. I want to be involved. I want to come to their events." And even for our previous events, we try not to push it too hard onto people we already know, because we want to see who's going to turn up. And some of the people that turned up have just been, it's really quite a humbling experience to see that those people are following us and those people want to be involved. So that community is growing and building, and then a big part of what we're doing, it's not about you just being able to talk to us, right? Because same thing of why we're doing this is that in the comments, some of you might ask a question, somebody else who's listening might be like, "Oh, I can help with that person." That's what we're going to try to encourage, right? We want to try and get people in the community helping each other, and you can meet each other at events, you can meet each other here. We're going to do different spotlights on the website and things like that, all coming as well. But a big part of what we're doing now is like, how can we get us to all help each other out? Because what we say is the rising tide lifts all ships, right? So, well, I guess on this as well, so we have a lot of cold outreach, and sometimes I get cold outreach separately as well. And a lot of people think about, like, you need to hustle hard, you need to be able to get these things going. Then we'll answer Jennings' question in a second. And a big part of that too is like, make sure you're really clear when you reach out to somebody, because if you send me a hi, how are you, and I don't know who you are, then I don't really know how to respond to that. And it's really good to just say like what your intentions are, so then I can deal with that appropriately, and we can deal with that appropriately, right? Because if you want to come on the podcast, we can send you to the right place. If you want to do this, whatever. So Jenica is saying, what content are you enjoying, finding inspiring at the moment? So I have a couple podcasts I listen to that I really enjoy, and it tends to be actually American more than the UK. I say that, so there's a high performance podcast. I really enjoy that. Then my favorite podcast is probably My First Million, which is by Sean Puri and Sam Pass. It's very tech broy, and it's quite nerdy, but it's a lot of fun, so I enjoy that one. And what else do I enjoy? So I read a lot of newsletters as well. So newsletters is actually my main source of information, how I learn. So obviously people should be signed up to the Bay HQ newsletter first, because that's the best obs. And I've also got Entrepreneurs Handbooks. That's where I've got the global entrepreneurs, and that content is very good. So let's have a look at where do I find inspiration? So there's a newsletter that I signed up to called Hook's Newsletter. That's quite a good one for people looking to scale, especially in the venture capital side. There's another one that I signed up to recently it's by somebody called Chanel. And what she does is she looks at different people who are growing, and she analyzes how they've done that and then shares their stories. So that's quite an interesting one, because it's like really in-depth content, and like I really enjoy that. That's her analytical way of looking at things. What else have I had in my little thing here? So there's a guy called Dave Klein who's got a newsletter too, called Management Playbook. And to me, as we're scaling the team, it's something which I'm learning, right? We're learning how to be a good manager, how to make sure we're treating people well, how to make sure we're doing the incentives right. And I think Dave is really good for that because he's run like a huge divisions. And just about how you do things in a way that really aligns intentions and make sure that you're helping people in the right way, because it can be quite easy to think you're helping and you're not. And that's a learning process, right? It's like we can always become better managers and always make a bigger impact there. What else am I using for list here? There's somebody called Anne-Laura Kumpf. So her one is called Nest Labs. And Nest Labs, I should probably put this in the comments rather than just say them actually. So Nest Labs is about like mindfulness and growing business. So to me, that's what my original business was based on. But she's been like great in terms of it always makes me think about different things. So how do I maybe just work out how I can get the link or how I get people to sign up? Okay, so if I click here, okay, so I'm going to put a few newsletters in the comments here that I enjoy. If I can get the links. Okay, so this one, Nest Labs, and Laura's great. Let's get Lenny's newsletter as well. Lenny's great. So Lenny is it's more tactical, it's more in-depth content, but that's something I enjoy. Let's get his link up. Okay, there you go. I also use the Hustle and Morning Brew for my actual tech news in the mornings. I'm way behind in my emails at the moment, but that's generally pretty good. Because I don't actually like I'd read the general news, but most of my news are actually coming from in the tech space, because that's why I need to be up to date on in order to do what I'm doing, hopefully somewhat well. So let's see, we've got my internet's being very slow. So here's another one, Growth in Reverse. That's one by that Chanel person I mentioned, where she analyzes people who are doing well and how they got there. And then let's get Dave Klein up as well. We don't mind. I don't know why it's giving you the really long links there. Then where are we? So I also mentioned a couple. So Entrepreneur's Handbook is what I used to be the editor of. So I'm obviously going to say that's got great content there, and still friends, like the editor was still part of the team. So there's a lot of information there, and that's all free. And then My First Million. Obviously, I'm sending all these links, but BayHQ is the best. We've got the best info. It's also, this isn't a zero-sum game. Like other people can do well too. And like I don't only listen to one podcast, I listen to a few. And one of the things I think I can announce as well, so we're going to start maybe this is an announcement to finish the episode off with, is we're going to do another podcast called the Lab Podcast, which we've recorded a few episodes with. But that's with people who aren't founders, but have like leadership lessons. They're in the tech space. They've got a specific skill set that could be really useful to founders or people early stage in their business. So we're doing those kinds of interviews too. And it's generally quite senior people. So some people come and go on as Gurpreet Gujral, who's managing director of Atrato Group, which is a $150 million fund. We've got Zeba Qureshi, who's the head of Muslims at Google. Vishal Varani, who's the head of UK Health at YouTube. There's, I don't know why I'm putting myself on the spot to remember this. There's Nader Sahiblem, who's was the head of data programs at Multiverse. So she led a team of over 120 people. So there's all these different other people going to be featuring too as well. So our own content will be ramping up. What I'm hoping is once we get some of the fundraising going, then we've got a wider team. Then I'm going to focus more on original content and guides, and like also about how to do different parts of business, right? Because what I want to do and see from like these kind of things too is like what the questions a lot of people are asking, and then how do we create the content to help lots of people at once. So that's something we're working on. But did I answer your question there, Jenica? Was that useful? It'd also be interesting because I can see that people who are joining, where are you finding this from? Because I've sent it in the newsletter about 20 minutes ago. I put it on my Instagram. LinkedIn is a bit of an odd one because you can't, I don't know how quickly people see it when you put it out there and whether or not I can get people to come through that way. But just wondering, it'll be interesting to see like how are people finding this? Where did you first hear about the Bay HQ? Was it one of the podcasts? Was it on LinkedIn? It's also useful information for us, right? Because then we can learn where do we put our resources, where do we focus our energy so that we can get like a wider audience and to help more people. It's 4 minutes until I can go and get a coffee. So I really should have my coffee before I do these, but I guess you get a slightly less hinged version of me, which is probably maybe a bit more entertaining. Okay, let's see. All the questions coming in. So who got there? This is so I am just quickly going through my emails and seeing if there's anything I need to act on. That's fine. That's fine. Nice. Hi, Fabio. I don't know if you see it sometimes, you get an email and it's like a long list of things to do. And like, oh. So I've just got one of those through. So we've got the big event is tomorrow, right? So that's HFC Innovation Banking. I can put the link in the notes. So that's kind of a lot where my brain is going at the moment to make sure we get that event running smoothly. Like I've done so many speaking and talking now that I'm pretty confident there. But it's all the logistics. We want to make sure that everybody's happy, that everybody enjoys the event. How do we make it so that everybody has a good experience, right? So we've got a few people working on it with us. And yeah, we're really trying to make sure that all our events are top tier, where if you come along to our event, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to meet great people. You're going to not have that networky, slimy kind of feel. And here's a couple of tips. If anybody's watching going to come to our events, what I always advise people is if you're speaking to somebody and you can see somebody kind of hovering by you and what you're speaking about isn't really private, open up the circle, just open up your body language, let those people into the circle. It can really make a massive difference. Because remember, not everybody is that confident, right? And we can't have it that only the people that are extroverted are the ones that are able to get ahead. So if you can include people, and I'm talking to you and I can see that you've included somebody to that circle, I'm going to rate you way higher because I can see like, oh, you care about others. So that's like a simple like networking tip there. And the other one too is if you're going to pitch to me online, right? If you're in my DMs or if you're in an email, you've got to be really clear really quickly about your intentions. If we're just chatting and we're in person, have a chat. Like just tell me about like just general chat. Like it doesn't need to be so aggressive. Because if somebody comes at me with a business card and it's like, well, I'm not going to read that business card because I don't even know who you are. I don't know what your motives are. But if you can, in that kind of environment, just have a chat, try to build a connection, that's going to be way more effective than you shoving a business card in somebody's face. So if you're coming to the event tomorrow, if you're coming to one of our future events, try to be mindful of that. Try to think about building that connection with people. So we're coming up to the last minute now. So you've got 18 seconds, 17 seconds, 16, 15 seconds to ask questions. But I'll probably wrap up now with the last 10 seconds to go. So thank you everybody for joining today. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for listening to me ramble to myself too. And hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you at the next one. Take care.